Razu. In this video, I would like to demonstrate about how we are going to develop Hibernate application. So actually, Hibernate is one of ORM tool in which the objects of an application going to be mapped to a table of a database. Clear-cut definition of Hibernate requirement is mapping of classes of an application to the tables of a database. So the kind of database here we are going to use is Oracle database. So here whenever you would like to work with database interaction, we have to follow certain steps. Means first you should know the driver name, then we should also know the data source URL and the username and password. Once you connect to the database successfully, then you are going to apply a query. So here the Hibernate application development requires four files, four modules. So which are Pozo class, then Hibernate mapping file, then Hibernate configuration file, then utility file, which you can also call result file. So we'll see that information in a brief note, and also we'll see practically how we are going to execute the Hibernate application. So actually I already executed it in Eclipse. So we have to open the Eclipse in normal Java application only. You need not open the Eclipse in enterprise and web development. We have to open it in normal Java project only. So once you open it, here hdemo is the project name. Under source, under a package hdemo Pozo class, it is main Pozo class, and the result file. Then we'll require the supporting XML files. One is Hibernate mapping file. This is Hibernate mapping file, and other is Hibernate configuration file. So if you see the project exploring screen, there XML file should be saved in source directly, SRC directly, and Pozo class and result file should be saved in package hdemo. Okay. So first we will see some introduction, then we will go into this Eclipse version of executing this Hibernate program. So we'll see first the theory part. So as I mentioned that Hibernate is a ORM tool, means ORM stands here object relational mapping, means mapping of classes of a given application to the tables of a database. So we have only class and data members. We are not doing any query directly in the database. So we are specifying only the table name and its equivalent column names with respect to the class that was defined in the application, which also consisting of data members. So the data members of a class in application have mapped to the equivalent column attribute of a specified table. So mapping of that objects of an application into the tables of the database, that is called ORM tool job. Hibernate is ORM tool. Okay. So when you specify the class name in an application to the table name of a database, we should also map the data members of that class to the specific column names of the table. Okay, so that means the data members of each class should be mapped to columns of each table. Okay, what is Pozo? Here there are four modules as I told earlier. Pozo class, then Hibernate mapping class, then Hibernate mapping file, then Hibernate configuration file, and last utility file, which you can also call result file. So Pozo stands for plain old Java object. Plain old Java object, which is nothing but a Java bean. means a class with specific data members and having specific setter getter methods. So the continuation of that Hibernate application development is here. You can observe, as I mentioned earlier, in normal Java application that I opened in Eclipse. So there under our project name, the project name I gave is hdemo, in which source directory there two XML files are saved. One is a Hibernate mapping file that is specific to your application, and other is a Hibernate configuration file, and two Java files that are saved in a package. The package name is hdemo, and the poser class, this is Java bin. If you observe, so the class name is employee. It have four attributes: ID, int type, employee name, string type, employee designation, string type, employee salary, double type. And for each, if you take employee ID, we will have setter getter methods. Set employee ID, get employee ID. Set employee ID takes some argument, and that argument we are going to assign to this class data member. Okay. And when you call get employee ID, that name, that value you are going to return. So get employee ID, we are returning that employee ID. Okay. Similarly, employee name, further set employee name, get employee name. Employee designation, set employee designation, get employee designation. Employee salary, set employee salary, get employee salary. This is what poser class. Okay. The class name is employee. Okay. And coming to now the specific Hibernate mapping file, where we are going to see, class of this application. We are going to map to the table of that table of the database, and every data member of this class also mapped to specific column of the table. That mapping we are going to do in a parent tab called Hibernate mapping. That is what employee.hbm.xml file. Suppose if the poser class is student.hbm.xml file. In that way, if the poser class is product class, that time product.hbm.xml file. Like that, the notation we need to follow. Coming here, whenever you are going to create this XML file, so it it is going to provide the first tag like this $XML version encoding, and doc type also there, and Hibernate mapping will be there. If it won't be there, you have to provide Hibernate mapping, in which for the class employee I am going to map a specific table, employee 1-2. This is going to be created for this class. Okay. And the first attribute, employee ID, that is the ID, primary key, and that is going to be generated automatically, assigned. Okay, automatically. And that means ID is the first attribute in the employee. Okay, so they have equivalent column name in the table employee 1-2, that is EMP ID. Similarly, the name employee name have equivalent column name in the table. The table is EMP12. For third column, employee designation, we will have desig is the column name in the table. And employee salary, fourth attribute, fourth data member of employee class should have equivalent column sal in the table employee 1-2. Okay, that mapping class to table, that every data member to corresponding column name. That mapping we are going to do in this Hibernate mapping file. Next, coming to second XML file, that is Hibernate configuration file, where we are going to provide three activities. One is database connection details, and second is Hibernate properties details, and third is that Hibernate mapping file. We need to specify that Hibernate mapping file using mapping resource attribute. Okay, first here also Hibernate configuration is the parent tag, under which session factory is a sub tag, and we are going to use property name. Here name that driver class whose value oracle.jdbc.driver.oracle driver is the driver we have to specify, we have to load. Then database URL, next that is another property URL whose value jdbc colon oracle colon thin colon at the rate of localhost colon 1521 colon xe. These we already seen in the interacting with the database using JDBC drivers. Okay, this is the thin driver, fourth type of driver, and username is system and password is root. So the anything you specified between opening of opening of the tag and closing of the tag, that is the value of that tag. And second activity, Hibernate properties. So here the what version of Oracle you are going to connect to, Oracle dialect. Okay, that is in org.hibernate.dialect is the prefix for that. Oracle dialect is the type of dialect. Then we are going to show the SQL. Okay, that means here when you call setter methods, when you create object, for that insert method automatically going to be performed. So that SQL query we need to show yes true, and the format also we need to show true, yes, the syntax we need to show true, and once you perform the query, that should be reflected in the database, so update. Okay, then third activity in that configuration file is the Hibernate mapping file. What is that Hibernate mapping file? employee.hbm.xml. So that we specified as a value to the resource attribute defined in a mapping tag, then session factory closed, then a parent tag Hibernate configuration also closed. Okay, so now we are going to the last module, that is result file, utility file. So where main method will have here there are a sequence of steps. First you need to create configuration object, an object for configuration class. Then we have to create object for session factory. Then you have to create object for session. Then you have to create object for transaction. If possible, if you want to create object for query, you can create. If possible, if you want to create object for criteria, you can create. So first to pose a class whose data members, and for that class we are providing table, and each data member, for that we are specifying column names. Okay, that this work we are going to do in Hibernate mapping file. Okay, so to develop Hibernate application, pose a class developed. Okay, then mapping file developed. In that Hibernate mapping is the parent tag. So class we are mapping to table name, and data member of each class, each data member of the class we are mapping to specific column name of the table. Okay, that work we are going to do in second module. On third module, we need to develop a Hibernate configuration file. There, Hibernate configuration is the parent tag, and under that session factory, there are three kinds of works we are going to do. One is database connection details using property tag. Okay, that have name. Then the value we are specifying between closing and between opening and closing of the tags. Then Hibernate properties also we are going to dialect. Then show SQL. Then and format SQL. Then auto. Those are built-in properties of Hibernate, and the values we are going to appropriate values you need to specify for that. And finally, that resource we need to map. What is that resource? Hibernate mapping file name is the resource here. And last result file in that configuration object we have to create. Then after creation of the configuration object, configure method we have to call that takes that Hibernate configuration file as an argument. Then session factory, using build session factory method, we are going to create object for session factory. Once you have session factory, open session method we have to call. Once session is opened, then we have to save the object. The object you have to create for poser class, and we have to call setter methods over that, and we have to save it. Then the object will become persistent object. Once you have persistent object, then we have to create a transaction object by calling begin transaction method, and commit method we have to call. Then whatever work you done so far, that is going to reflect in the update in the given table, given database, as in the form of the table. And query is optional. Creation of query is optional. Creation of criteria is also optional. So we'll see that last module. So here configuration object we created CFG, and which consisting of configure method which takes that Hibernate configuration file as an argument. Then configuration also have build session factory. The object is SFO. So session factory SF have now open session method that gives session object. Then we are creating object for employee E, and it have 4 data members using setter methods, and we are passing arguments. Accordingly, they will be created. They will be created in the over that class, and that reflection happened in the database. And we are saving that object also. So this is the state representing, persistent state. Okay, persistent object. So then here we are creating a transaction using a begin transaction. Then we are calling commit over that. So once we are committing the transaction, then logical work whatever you did all going to be reflected in the database. Then we have to close the session. Then you have to close the session factory. Now we have to run. Right click, run as an application. It's not a server. It's a application. So once you run, actually we are going to get error. Why? Because I already executed last time. So we have to change the attributes. So employee ID. Already I inserted 3 records. So I executed this program for 3 times earlier. So now 4th time running, so change 56 and change yes, Pratima they are going to use as a software, and salary is 60,000. Save. For every change we have to save. Then run. Now if you run, we are going to see that modification whatever you did, that modification we are going to observe as an output. So insert command we applied. So whatever you are doing, that means setting the values to the columns, that is nothing but insert command. Okay, so the type of SQL performed is insert command. So we seen that is shown. Now that reflection done in the database or not, we have to check by opening the database. So start. There I already have Oracle 10G. So open database home page there. So login using a system as the username and password root. So login. So what is the table name? EMP12. EMP12. So if you observe, you can in employee HBM.xml file EMP12. Okay, we already executed it. So just we have to check it. Already 3 are there. Now 4th record is inserted. So that observation we are going to check now. So select SAR from EMP12. 12 is the table name C. So already 3 records are there. Now 4th record we inserted that ID, name, designation, salary are reflecting in the database. So the need of Hibernate's concept is, so to do the queries at the front end application, so without going to the back end, without going to the database directly, you can perform the queries at the application side itself. So that is the job of Hibernates. So hope you understood the concept. So recap of the concept is, first pose a class, plain object, Java object. So which is a Java bean consisting of setter, getter methods and data members. Then hybrid mapping file. So there we are mapping class to the table name and the data member of class to column name of the column name of column name of the table, then configuration file, Hibernate configuration file. There are three activities. One is database connection details, and other is Hibernate properties details, and third resource mapping. And coming to the last module, that is result file, that is utility file, employee demo.java. Here there series of steps we followed: configuration objective created, then session factory objective created, then session objective created, then we created object for the class poso class, and we called setter methods over that. Then we saved that object using save method available in a session object. Then we created object also for transaction, and we committed it. Then we close whatever objects we opened. Then we are going to save the whatever the work we did. Then right click on the employee demo.java, which is a result file, utility file, run as Java application. Then you are going to observe that command, and you open database. The table automatically going to be created, that is specified whatever name is specified in the employee.hbm.xml file. So emp12 we specified. If you give some other name, the table going to be created along with the columns. So whatever columns we specified, see employee ID, name, designation, sal. These are the column names we specified. If you observe here, yes, employee 1 2 is the table, and employee ID is the first attribute, the name is the second attribute, designation is the third attribute, salary is the fourth attribute. So same we are observing name, designation, salary. So we successfully executed development of Hibernate application. So friends, students, we will see the another concept in coming video. Thank you friends, thank you a lot.